Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're here tonight for our 2024 Meet the Candidates Forum. Thank you for being here and thank you for wanting to be informed. My name is Jim Morgan. I'm the general manager here at the Colony. I am going to also moderate the question and answer this evening as well with the candidates. First of all, please make sure that your cell phones are either turned off or on silent. Just to be fair to our candidates, they don't have any unexpected distractions as they're trying to put the words together that they want to express to you this evening. It would be much appreciated. Let's begin. If everyone would please stand, and let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Forgot to welcome all those that are viewing at home as well. We appreciate you taking the time to see. I'd like to take a moment to talk a little bit about the voting process. Many of you have lived here for a number of years. You know the process, or have you been in elections before in other associations? The laws changed several years ago to make elections more complicated, but the complication was a good thing. It made for an honest election process in homeowner associations. So as much as it might be tiresome to us all, it is for the better, and we do appreciate that particular law. So you're going to receive, if you haven't received already, your ballot information. And what that has, it has a notice of annual meeting, it has the list of the candidates, and it has their candidacy statements also in there. It also has the ballot, and it should have also 2 envelopes. The biggest envelope, the one that has a space for your signature on it and your name and address, that is a very important, that's just as important as the ballot, that envelope. It's the envelope that keeps the election private, so people don't know how you vote. But what that big envelope is used for is for quorum purposes. In order for us to have an election, we have to have quorum. You don't necessarily even have to vote for a candidate. As long as you submit that envelope signed with your name and address on it, it will be counted towards quorum. So please, at the very least, make sure you send that envelope back. The smaller envelope is the envelope that you're going to put your ballot in. You put that inside the smaller envelope, and then you take that, you seal it, then you put that envelope inside the bigger one, the one that's used for quorum. As soon as they remove that smaller envelope from the quorum envelope, there's no association with each other anymore. So there's no way of knowing how that ballot voted with this envelope. So that's the privacy part of it that that brings to you or offers you. Also, we have 4 seats open this year. We do not have cumulative voting, so don't put a four votes for one candidate. It's only going to be counted as one if the inspectors of election determine that it's a valid ballot. You can vote as many as 4 times for individual candidates. And any number below that you wish to vote, that's entirely up to you. And if there are any questions about that process, you can talk to staff, Kimberly or myself or Katie, and we can help you walk you through that. We just won't tell you how to vote. Our annual meeting is on Thursday, September 19th at 1 p.m. in this room. I think one last thing, the board has, as it has in the last several years, elected to use a third-party inspector of election. The name of the company is the Inspectors of Election, and we go with an acronym. We just call them TIE, but they will be performing the Inspectors of Election duties, and any questions or disputes, anything of that nature, should be directed to the inspector. Also, your ballots need to be received no later than the 18th, September 18th, which is a Wednesday. Most of you are not going to want to deliver that by hand on that day, so I would encourage you to make sure that you have your ballot in the mail well in advance to allow for USPS to deliver your ballot to the Inspector of Election. Otherwise, you would run the risk of it not getting there on time or being counted in the election. I'd like to make some introductions as well. For this evening, we have our timekeepers that are pros at this because they've done it every year since I've been here. We got Kimberly Evans and Katie Burchard. Yeah. And Kara's running around here somewhere. Kara actually would be up here, but she's in the back helping with the production. As I just mentioned, our 2024 Inspectors of Election is the Inspectors of Election. We have our question review panel, Doris Zeif and Jerry Stein. And so how this evening is going to proceed is candidates, prior to this session, candidates drew random numbers prior to the forum to determine the order they would present their candidacy statement. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to present their statement. The timekeepers, make sure you're on cue. Wait. The timekeepers will hold up a sign at the 1 minute remaining mark, the 30 seconds remaining mark, and thank you. The thank you sign will be held up at the candidate will end their remarks at that time. The question, as mentioned, the questions will be received in written form only. Just to let you know, we did receive more than enough to fill the quorum or this meeting. So you're welcome to submit questions. If there's a better question that comes in than what we already have, the committee, the review panel will ask me to insert the question if it's one that is either different or considered to be a more worthwhile question of what we already have. Each question will be reviewed by the review panel. Appropriate questions will be forwarded to the moderator and then the question asked of the candidates. The questions will be directed to the candidates starting in alphabetical order by last name. After the first question has been answered by each candidate, the second question will then start with the second alphabetical order candidate and will rotate accordingly until there are no further questions of the candidates. However, we will try to end this meeting by 7 o'clock tonight. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each respective question. Our timekeepers will follow the same procedure as was used during the candidacy statement portion of the forum. using the 30 seconds and thank you signs. Some residents have submitted questions prior to this meeting. Those questions, as I mentioned, have been reviewed and are ready for questions to be asked of the candidates. As I mentioned, you still have the opportunity to submit any questions if you choose to do so. This is different than maybe some associations do it, but we do not allow for audible questions from the floor. We ask that you refrain from asking any questions. It's important. We believe it's important that all the questions that are asked of the candidates are fair to all candidates. And so they must go through the question review panel prior. And if we allowed these audible questions to come out, there would be no way of accomplishing that. We also put any questions that we received that were repetitive or inappropriate questions, those were eliminated or combined or clarified. So there were some adjustments that might have been made to some of the questions that were posed. And lastly, all questions must be posed in a manner that all candidates may comment or respond. Questions must not be directed to individual candidates. The purpose of this is to provide a fair and equitable platform for each candidate. Also, lastly, before we get into our candidate statements, I do want to read the colony's code of conduct. It should also be on your agenda. The association appreciates the candidates and your participation in this year's forum. In an effort to maintain proper decorum, we respectfully ask that all in attendance be courteous to the individual candidates and your fellow homeowners who have come to this meeting to be informed. Furthermore, audible verbal questions and or statements from the audience, as well as other disruptive behavior, will not be allowed. Anyone creating a disturbance will be asked to leave the meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. So with that, I'd like to kick this thing off and get the candidates up here and providing their statements. So we've got the order in which, and we ask that all the candidates do give your statements up here at the podium. Number one will be Kathy C. Stevens will be speaking first. Our second will be Pam Bliss. Third, Greg Ross. And fourth, Del Mitchum. And one other thing I wanted to mention, I'm sorry, I apologize, but one of our candidates was unable to be here tonight. Chuck Gordon is out of town and sends his apologies to the group that he was unable to be here. With that being said, let's proceed. Thank you.
Ooh, that's It works for me too. Thank you, Jim. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. My name is Kathy Stevens. I moved to the colony in 2021, January. Because of my insatiable curiosity, I immediately sought out ways to become involved and how things worked in the community. So I was excited to join the golf course committee and was quickly humbled by the magnitude of the issues. When the election presented itself in 2022, I took a leap of faith, had no idea what I would encounter. Thank you for electing me. It's been quite an adventure. As a project manager for 37 years, I have extensive experience in solving problems, managing budgets, contracts, staff, and schedules to ensure success. To be effective, I had to be able to quickly assess a situation, evaluate options, and implement a technically sound strategy. Specializing in compliance and regulatory affairs taught me how to interpret regulatory requirements and apply the appropriate standards to each situation. I've worked extensively with regulatory agencies, as well as city and county municipalities. In my work, I also developed and implemented a variety of complex and controversial public outreach and educational programs. I really enjoy breaking down complicated issues into an understandable language people can comprehend. If elected, I will listen and do what I can to help residents in the community. I also take my role to preserve our home values very seriously and will make wise decisions. Thank you very much.
Hello. First, let me explain why I'm wearing these sunglasses. We have some major lights up there that are blinding me, and I'm a migraine sufferer. So forgive me, but that it is what it is. So good evening, and thank you very much for coming out, and to those of you at home. We were all asked in our interview, why did we want to run for the board? Well, in addition to wanting to enhance our beauty of our community and the lifestyle that we all enjoy, and as well as improve the safety of our community, some very specific issues arose just last week having to do with financial information that we've all received. Believe me, this is not the statement or speech I intended or even wanted to give, but our community will be faced with some serious challenges coming up, including the golf course. So we must be able to rely on the information, especially the financial information that we are given. But that has become a little bit more difficult to trust when more times than not, this financial information is just not accurate. Here are the two recent examples. The new line item that appeared in the recent budget seemed to me like a sign of financial instability. The explanation that we were given at the last board meeting for the line item that is labeled income, fines from CC&R violations, was either lacking in experience or understanding or some other reason, because it was not correct. Of course, if there is additional revenue that the HOA receives, it must be accounted for and tracked. The standard and accepted practice to do this is to assign a general ledger account number to this money so that the money can be parked in that account. This is contrary to what we were told. One never, ever adds a new line item under income for this purpose, because that means that that number is a budgeted amount and must be collected to meet the total expenditures that have been listed for the year. Our procedure in the past has followed the standard practices, so why did it change? The other information we received at the meeting last week was that our reserves were funded at 72%. Now, just how can this be when the annual report we received just in May stated as of February the projected fiscal year being April 2024, the reserve cash balance would be $3,966,216.76. But the balance that we received in the August newsletter for April 30th, the cash balance stated $3,851,000, which is lower than the analyst's prediction. But wait, then the report given at the board meeting last week says that the April 30th cash balance was $3,988,972. So which is it? That's a lot of money, yet nobody from the board or management questioned this. This reserve study that we all received also projected our current fiscal year of 2024 to 2025 will end with funding only at 61%. And it goes down from there. So how did we get to 72% from 63% in just 3 months? I don't know. The documentation for all of this will be presented at my town hall, which will be here next Saturday, starting at 2 o'clock. And that's where you'll be able to see all this documentation and question it yourself. Questions will also be encouraged. You don't have to pre-submit them. We have a terrific community here. So why not work together as a community and make sure that we have a bright and secure future with first-class amenities, thriving activities, and an exchange of new ideas, plus real financial stability. So I ask you to join me in this endeavor, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Greg Ross, currently the Vice President of the HOA. I had a myriad of backgrounds that I think benefit the position here. I was an accountant, I was in real estate, had a real estate broker's license, had property management. I'm also a licensed attorney. I graduated Cal Poly with a business degree, and kind of minored, not technically, but almost in classes in accounting. When I graduated, I went to Accountemps, and they were a temporary accounting agency that places temporary accountants where needed. So, I took a test, make sure I know the difference between a debit and a credit, income and an expense. So I apparently passed that, and they placed me. The first job lasted about a week. The next one lasted 40 hours a day for a year. It was at Vons, a grocery store, corporate office. So I learned a lot there. After the year, I decided to strike out and go on to a permanent place. I applied for a couple of Fortune 500 companies. I got accepted at one in Anaheim Hills. And after about a year, they asked me if I would fly to Virginia to help out the office over there. It was right next to Washington, D.C. And I said, well, I came from Accountemps. Why don't you want to send a temp there? He said, they'd rather have me. They'd rather send me across country, pay for my hotel, and pay for my food for 2 weeks than hire a temp. So I guess they saw in me something, that good work ethic and quality work. In accounting, in real estate, I went to property management in 2007-8 during the housing crisis. I managed up to 85 homes. They were homes that were repossessed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, B of A. So I learned a lot about real estate, but it's also beneficial for here. And I can tell you what, a house inside a gated community with a golf course and a house outside, exactly the same, $10,000 to $20,000 less. That back in the 80s. So probably a big difference now. So you want a nice golf course, it really does improve the value of the homes. End of story. Law school, I started in my mid-40s. They said, you're crazy to go to law school in your mid-40s. I said, I was bored. So I studied the LSAT. I think I told you about that 2 years ago. What I didn't tell you is I ended up top 25 percentile of the people graduating from taking the LSAT. So luckily it saved me 50% for the first 2 years of my law school expenses. I was working full-time, 40, 50 hours a week, 3 nights a week at school, and that was 9 hours plus travel time. And they say for every hour in school, you have 2 hours of study and research. So I was pretty much a hermit for 4 years. But it all paid off, great knowledge, I'd do it again. Now, as far as the team we have, me, Chuck, Dill, Kathy, fantastic group. We've all been in business. You don't want to change up management midstream. It's chaos if you keep changing people every year. Stick with the same group. We know what's going on. We fight our battles, but we come out in agreement and understanding, and that's the way to do business. That's the way to move this place forward and keep it going forward. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Del Mitchum. My wife and I moved to the colony about 24 years ago, and I consider this to be one of the best decisions about where to live I ever made. My objective is to serve on the HOA Board of Directors and help keep the colony the premier best place around. Before moving here, I was on the HOA board where I lived in Mission Viejo, a place called Cypress Point, and also elected twice to the Lake Mission Viejo Association. Everybody in Mission Viejo has to belong to it. A lot of people are unhappy about that, but it's a nice place. Here in the colony, I served on the board for 4 years during the initial golf course lawsuit in Superior Court, and now I've been on the board again these last 4 years. Major issues of the golf course still need to be addressed, and I have experience with that process. My working career was in data processing, started in programming in the late 60s. I went up in operations, ended up as director of operations at Coldwell Banker in the mid-90s, managing a budget of about $18 million with 75 to 90 employees on a nationwide network. I think that gives me the expertise and ability to understand the complex issues here in the colony. I think I would get it done attitude, and I think, again, that will contribute to a successful board. You know, I was lucky enough to meet somebody sorry. There exists a diverse group of interests here in the colony, and I would want to make sure that all of them have a say-so. And why am I running again? The colony has a lot of projects going on, and I want to be a part of that. And I'm interested in some other things here. Take a look at solar again. We've looked at it a couple times, but maybe it's time to look again. We need to plan and remodel that whole pavilion area. It should be almost completely coming out of reserve, so that's good. And of course, the major elephant in the room, the golf course. Colony is a beautiful place, so much to do. It's really nice. If anybody's bored here, it's their fault. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give them all a round of applause again, please. So now we start the question and answer portion of the evening. And we did receive a question that we felt was worthy of bumping one of the previous questions. And we're going to start with that question. Del, this question is for you, starting with you. What is your vision for the golf course?
The vision is for the golf course is to acquire it, turn it over to that LLC, get it running again, pump a bunch of money. Everybody knows that they're going to be on the hook for a couple grand, and put that money into it and make it a really nice golf course. The management company will then take over. They won't take it over until it's in good shape. And it'll be really nice and maintain our home values, which is one of the primary concerns. I think it should work, and we're going to eventually put the money that they owe us as a lien on the golf course, so that in case in the future, when they start making some money, then maybe there's a possibility we may be able to retrieve some of that money back into the HOA.
Thank you. Mr. Ross?
Well, the vision is to make it beautiful, to renovate the grounds, make it a lovely place to play on as well as to look at, to also get the pro shop looking like a good pro shop, hopefully with merchandise and all, brighter lights so you can actually see what's in there, and also get the food venue going. And I think it'd be a great place for a lot of the colonists to visit and have breakfast, lunch, or whatever we end up making that restaurant into.
Thank you. Ms. Stevens?
My vision for the golf course is to no longer have to pay attorney's fees. And I'd like to see the beautiful blue lines all cleaned out and the water flow during the rain and there's no flooding. Green grass, lots of people playing golf, having a great time. And it makes enough money to pay all of its expenses. That's my vision.
Thank you. Ms. Bliss?
Well, I'm with Kathy. We need to stop the hemorrhaging that this litigation is causing our community. We could have settled this last December, but we didn't. So that's something that needs to be explored. What else needs to be explored is the restructuring of this LLC so that the $3.4 million that we're going to be giving this LLC, we will have the legal right to know how this money is being spent. We need to do a real assessment of what the cost is going to be to rehabilitate this golf course to see if indeed it is feasibly possible for us to accomplish. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it should be a 9-hole. I don't know. We don't have the hard data yet. We've just been given numbers with no backup. That's something that will also be discussed at the town hall Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question to Mr. Ross. Have you served on any board-sanctioned advisory committees? If so, please name the committees or committee or committees and explain what experience you gained that might assist the board.
No, I haven't been on any advisory committees. I've just been on VP. I've been on the Rules and Regulation Committee, but not an advisory committee. I guess you want to call advisory the architectural control. They will advise as far as different colors or different ways to maintain the properties, and on the rules and regs. So, what to teach me? Take the advice, look at what people say, see what benefits the community, and just move forward from that. Just use your best discretion. I mean, no one's infallible. All you can do is what the information you have in front of you, use it to your knowledge, research it, and then come up with the best answer.
Thank you. Ms. Stevens?
Can you please call me Kathy?
You want me to go to first names, everyone?
Yeah, don't, Miss Stevens.
Okay.
I was on the golf course committee, and then I became a board member. And once you become a board member, you cannot join an advisory committee. But I've been a board liaison to the Colony News Magazine, the EPC, ACC, Rules and Regs, Access and Control, violations. That's always a fun one. And what I've learned is there's just a lot of great people who volunteer their time and give up so much to try to do something good for this community, and it's great to learn.
Thank you. Pam?
Miss Bliss?
Ms. Bliss?
I'm just
Fair
kidding.
enough, fair
Just
enough.
kidding.
All
Just
right.
kidding.
Thank you.
Just kidding. Number one, I have a problem with the way committees are here. It's the first time I've ever seen it. I've always lived in an HOA where if you're a resident and you want to volunteer your time and you want to join a committee, you join it. You don't have to be appointed and go through a application process and an interview process and all of that stuff. So I got an issue with that. Now, as far as being on any committees that assist the board, I'm not quite sure what I do assist the board, but I hopefully it assists the community. And I make sure that we have factual information like the court documents that I obtain and send out for everybody so we know what's going on. We know what's happening, and we don't have to rely on hearsay or word of mouth or any of that. Beyond that, I think that we've got a great community here with a lot of dedicated volunteers, and I applaud them.
Thank you. Dell?
The Architectural Committee and Golf Course Committee and an ad hoc committee with the golf course before the lawsuit started, trying to get a better relationship with them. And then, of course, after, as a board member, a board liaison to several committees. What I learned is about the volunteers that spend their time and the amount of respect that they're due. And you got to get good people in there to do it. And to the best of my knowledge, we have those good people.
Thank you. The next question is for Kathy. What is your typical way of dealing with conflict? What is your typical way of dealing with conflict?
That's an interesting question. There's so many different ways to deal with conflict, but what I like to do is find out what the issue is and what the different sides are, and then basically try to come up with some sort of way to have both entities win. In my line of work, we had to take conflict resolution seminars constantly to try to deal with clients and contractors, and so it's an interesting topic.
Thank you. Pam?
I'm sorry, Jim, could you please repeat that?
Sure. What is your typical way of dealing with conflict?
Oh, dealing with conflict. Well, first what I want to try to do, and of course we did conflict resolution at the corporation I worked at. First thing you do is you try to find a common thread. And usually there is one. You can be on different sides of an issue all the time, but you probably will be able to find a common thread. For example, in here, I think the common thread would be, we all want a wonderful community here. We all want our dues to be low, our amenities to be high, and our facilities to be first class. So I think if you start with a common thread and you hear people out first so they know and realize that they have been heard, then you can start from there. And usually, you can make a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Dell?
The obvious one is listen to both sides and try to figure out what started this conflict and what's going on. As a manager over the years, I had a lot of employees underneath me with conflicts with some other employee. And so I did spend a fair amount of time. Some of them pretty important, some of them pretty petty. Petty ones, you just separate them, like children. But, so, you do what you can.
Thank you. Greg?
All right, well, they pretty well covered it. Yeah, you need to, find a common thread, find a reason, find a way or a path to resolve it. You got to hear both sides. One side may be right, one side may be wrong. They may both be right. I guess that's what you got to decide. I mean, sometimes the conflict is just a conflict and someone just is pissed off and there's no reason, just upset. So, you have to figure out which one it is and work through it.
Thank you. The next question. Pam? What have you done to make the colony a better place to live?
Tell the truth.
Thank you. Dell?
Working with the golf course before the lawsuit, after the lawsuit, helping our lawyers understand the whole situation and getting through that, and that's about it.
Greg?
Well, I hope by joining the board I would be a benefit to the community to make it a better place to live. I make sure I wave at everybody when I drive by. It's just it's real nice. And whether I'm in a vehicle or riding my bicycle or walking, it's people, for the most part, will make the place nice. They can really ruin it for you if you just constant fights and complaints. So just as long as everybody's happy, you're going to have a nice place to live.
Thank you. Kathy?
I like to volunteer for things. So being on the board, I volunteer for a lot of special projects, and I love being a board liaison for all the different committees and helping them communicate between the committee and the board. I love when not clients, but residents call me and ask me for help, and I can help them resolve an issue. So I think what I want to contribute is be a facilitator between the residents and the board and be able to help people streamline and get their issues heard and resolved.
Thank you. Back to Dell. Next question. How will you help to improve the effectiveness of our existing board? I didn't write the question. Would you like, you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, why don't you let me think about it?
How will you help to improve the effectiveness of our existing board?
Well, I think that communication, the board needs to spend time trying to explain things as best that we can. And there's a lot of legal stuff that we can't talk about. And if we can talk about it, then we should talk about it and give all the information we can to the people.
Thank you. Greg?
Well, the best way to improve effectiveness is communication between the board members and also with the colony. You know, you want to know what's happening. You don't want to just find out this change happened and you haven't had any input. So it's nice to, you know, work as a group. There are certain things, you know, just contracts, personnel, and what's the third one? Oh, legal, that you have to keep private in there. So the rest of the stuff, you know, we bring it out here, and that's what we do every month in the board meeting, the general session. Come out here, they see what we're doing. They have, you know, they're looking in. They're not participating per se, but they're seeing how we come to our decisions.
Thank you. Kathy?
I see two parts to that question, how the board can be more effective internally within itself, and how the board could be more effective in how it communicates to the residents. So in terms of the board working effectively, I like to listen to everyone's different perspective and encourage people to bring their perspective to the table and understand that, because everyone on the board has a different background, and it's really interesting and unique. And so sometimes someone will say something that I hadn't even thought of just because of their experience. In terms of effectiveness for the board, I feel that my job is going to be to help be a liaison between the board and the residents. It's something I've always wanted to do from day one, to be able to be there for people to call when they have questions.
Okay, thank you. Pam?
Well, there's no real short answer to this one. So the first thing that I would do is the board needs to move the member comments in general meetings to the end of the general meeting, so people have the opportunity to ask relevant questions about what they just heard. That's one way to be effective. You need to draw in the community, engage the community, and be open to hearing new ideas and answering questions. So that's one thing. The other thing is there needs to be a review of the contracts. There should be no evergreen contracts here. And I don't know if there is. I know that there's a problem in reviewing the contracts because they're not being made available. So another effective way to get the board up and running is to basically follow the law. Watch what is discussed in executive sessions that should be discussed in open meetings.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Next question starts with Greg. What is the one change or improvement that you would make to enhance the lives of Colony residents?
With a snap of the finger would be getting the golf course done, obviously. I mean, that would just relieve so much pressure, so much discontent when they see how pretty it is and somewhere to go for a nice restaurant. And that's, I mean, really, that's the albatross that we had to bear here. But it's the battle worth fighting. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind that we need to own it and we need to have it as a golf course.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, obviously, closure on the golf course is one, that I'm going to do a 1B. And I would really like to redo the new resident orientation, whatever, forum or whatever, and create a better way to communicate information to the new residents so they're a little bit more informed on what it's like living in an HOA. It was kind of scary. One of them I went to recently, and there was probably 35 hands that went up about people who have never lived in an HOA before. So that would be something I would really like to do.
Thank you. Pam?
Can I have the question again?
Sure.
Sorry.
What is the one change or improvement that you would make to enhance the lives of Colony residents?
I would try to make our community more inclusive. I really have a problem with this groups that are being formed where it's like a them against us. So, and if you're not part of that group, there's something wrong with you. You're not part of the community. I think there's something inherently wrong with that. It's divisive. So I would really like to get the opinion of the residents. I think the residents should be the driving force for something like that. I don't think the board should be. Forgive me, but I don't think management should be. I think the residents should be the driving force on that. So I don't have that answer. I would look to that answer to my neighbors and the other homeowners here. Thank you.
Thank you. Dell?
Well, we all see it. We see younger people moving in. So perhaps if we get the golf course, maybe we have an opportunity somewhere to expand the workout room, make that a first-class kind of thing. And obviously the golf course too is high.
Thank you. Next question is for Kathy. What is it that you like most about the Colony? It's a two-part question, that being the first. What do you like least about the Colony?
Oh.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
They asked this during the interview. I like the people. I just love the people. Everybody's nice. They're willing to volunteer to help you do something. If you need help, they'll help you. It doesn't matter. People get sick. There's someone to help you, to take you to the doctor. I mean, it's a wonderfully warm community. What do I like least? I think what I like least is my backyard is on the 6th hole, and when young people come and I get to learn all kinds of new cuss words that I have to look up. So that's probably what I like least.
All right, thank
Sorry.
you. Pam?
Again, I agree with Kathy. That's pretty strange, isn't it, Kathy? The people here are wonderful. I've met so many nice people that have been moved into the Colony. I actually like living in Murrieta, which who knew? You know, I think we have a great city council and city employees to work with here. So I think that we kind of really struck a good deal here. What I like least about the Colony is the resistance to new ideas. Again, cliquish attitude sometimes, which it really isn't necessary in a small community like ours. We should be a very open and welcoming community that whether we agree or disagree, we should be respectful. So that's one thing that maybe could use a little work.
Thank you. Dell?
I'm going to jump on the bandwagon with the people. I've never been in a place like this where the people are so friendly and able to help each other out. What I dislike is the angry people.
Greg?
All right, yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, like Dell said, the community here is amazing. Anything you ask them for, there seems someone who knows the answer or knows where to find the answer. And the least, I don't know. I don't find anything negative.
Thank you. Next question, begin with Pam. What is your position on enforcing the association's governing documents? Should the board be stricter, more forgiving, or is the current level of enforcement fair?
Well, kind of none of the above. The governing documents are the governing documents that we've all agreed to abide by when we purchased our homes in here. So they need to be enforced using common sense, but they need to be enforced, and they need to be enforced equally and fairly.
Thank you. Dell?
Yeah, I think we're doing a reasonable job enforcing the rules. There's one rule about parking on the street overnight when you live here. No, that's about it.
Thank you. Greg?
Yeah, I mean, we try to do everything even-handed here. There's no favoritism, there's no favors, there's no ones you're out to get. It's just enforce the rules evenly across the board, and that's what you should do, and that's what we do.
Kathy?
I think we're doing a good job of enforcing the rules. However, I think that some of the rules need to be rewritten for clarification and to bring current. Some of them were written back in the Stone Age, and they just don't. Some of them they just don't even make sense now. So that's where I'm at. Clarity.
Thank you. All right, back to the front. Dell. What are the top 3 priorities facing the board next year, and in priorities 1, 2, and 3? Put them into priority.
Oh, I'm pretty strong with the golf course being number 1, and redoing that whole pavilion area is coming up. The third one, those 2 are uppermost in my mind. I'm not sure what we're going to go to next. We'll have to look and see what's on our schedule, and we prioritize those as we go.
Thank you. Greg?
Well, yes, obviously, number 1 is the golf course. Number 2, yeah, get that pavilion done, make it pretty out there. Number 3, chicken in every pot. I don't know. Probably, I'll throw one out for my wife if she's watching. She wants a sauna.
Thank you. Kathy?
Well, obviously, we need closure on the golf course, and then I guess the second item is the barbecue patio area. And then for me, the next priority is we really need to get the strategic long-range plan done, and we need to be able to get together as a board and brainstorm the future projects and then determine the short-term, medium-term, and long-term of the different projects and bring that to the community.
Thank you. Pam?
First priority is to get a handle on our finances. We've got some challenging things ahead. We need to be prepared for that. I don't think we are. Second thing would be term limits. Should be a priority for the board, because you go stagnant if you don't have fresh ideas coming in. You become a closed community where you're not open to new ideas. That needs to change. The next priority, I think, would be a real, true evaluation of the golf course. We need experts to come in here and tell us exactly what it's going to cost. Because I'll tell you, $3.4 million is going to go so fast your heads will spin.
Thank you. Next question starts with Greg. Do you think that the board meetings and actions taken by the board are transparent? Could it be more so? If so, how?
Yeah, it's absolutely transparent. Like I say, the only thing we do in the executive session is contracts, legal or personnel issues. Everything else is done in front of the public. You can't be more transparent than that. The financials, Chuck does a fantastic job, explains everything to the people. As far as the, let me just say one thing about committees. I mean, yeah, it sounds nice, everyone can join, but, we got, 2,500 people here? You can't have 2,500 in every community. Committee. You have to have regulation, you have to interview people, you have to have a finite number of people, otherwise you'll get zero done.
Thank you. Kathy?
Yes, I think the board's transparent. And I think if you do watch the board meetings enough, you will see that the board meetings, the board members will discuss things, and you will see sometimes I lose. And, but we still walk away respecting each other. So everybody has a different opinion. They bring that opinion to the board. They communicate it in front of the residents. And I feel we're being transparent. If anybody asks me a question, I'll tell them the answer. They may not like the answer, but I'll tell them what the true answer is.
Thank you. Pam?
Well, I think we all know my answer. This board is not transparent. But it's not just this board. It's pretty much every board since I've lived here. Number one, if you want to be transparent, why won't you make available a line item budget with descriptions for any homeowner to review? That's not being done. You don't know how your money is being spent. You get a copy of a general ledger, it's highly redacted. Again, you don't know where your money's being spent. I witnessed a judge in a courtroom admonish the president of the board and our management company for discussing a topic in an executive session that was not legally allowed. So that happens too. We don't know what our finances are. We don't know what's being discussed behind closed doors. We can't even review a contract. So, yeah, kind of like mud.
Thank you. Dell?
Give me the question again. I got lost in there.
Do you think
Oh, the transparency.
that the board meetings and actions?
I agree with Greg. I think it's very transparent. We do what we can do in the executive sessions. Once in a while, somebody will start to bring something up, and no, we can't talk about that. We don't talk about it. We wait until the general session. And as far as the finances are concerned, Chuck does an excellent job explaining what the finances are, and if everyone had to know if everybody had to know every little minutia of everything that went into it, we would never get anything done.
Thank you. Kathy? what are your feelings about the amount of the current monthly assessment? If you feel that they are too high, what specific cuts would you suggest to possibly lower the monthly assessment? Keep in mind that it takes a cut of $19,000 to lower dues by $1.
Oh, dear. Okay, so obviously it'd be nice if the dues were less, and if we had less palm trees that we had to pay for. My big thing on the budget is landscaping. I don't think we need all the landscaping that we have. I think there's a little bit more density than is necessary, and I think with all the water restrictions that are coming up, we need to pay attention to that. More landscaping means more water use, means more money.
Thank you. Pam?
My feeling is that our monthly assessments are a little bit high, but I can't really make that as a statement because I'm not privileged to the information and the hard data that goes into that. So I think until we have a little bit more openness and we can really figure out what is happening, I can't give an honest answer to that. But I do feel that there are some serious problems when we have to budget $28,000 to collect in fines to meet our budgeted line items for the year. Something's wrong here. I don't know what it is because I'm not privileged or able to review the data. Thank you.
Thank you. Dell?
Well, the 333 every month is based on the budget. There's lots of work going in to construct that budget with the Finance Committee, and there's lots of, takes quite a while to get that budget going. Once you get the budget, it's, divided by 1586 homes divided by 12, and that's the number you come up with. And so the 333 is just tied directly to that budget. And so the question is about that budget, but they do a yeoman's job, an outstanding job creating that budget.
Thank you. Greg?
Yeah, I think the, HOA fees, no one likes to pay HOA fees. They are what they are. Like you said, if you have expenses, that's what your HOA fee is. I mean, people are thrilled when their house doubles in price over 10 years, and God forbid we ever double the HOA fees in 10 years. I mean, inflation moves up. It's going to go up. Guess what? It's not going to stay 333 for long. It's, everything costs more every single year. So once that's, once we get back down to zero inflation, well, then maybe it won't go up. But, you get what you pay for. And we have a beautiful community. We have a nice gated community, and we get what we pay for, and I think it's quite reasonable.
Thank you. Next question. Pam? If you are elected, how do you plan to work collaboratively with your board members?
How would I do what with the board members?
If you are elected, how do you plan to work collaboratively with
It's very
your
simple.
fellow board members?
Our HOA is a multi-million-dollar business. So when you get on the board and it's your responsibility to conduct that business, you put all your personal feelings aside and you conduct business. It's very simple.
Thank you. Dell?
I've done it and will continue to do it, working with the other board members, so I don't have a problem. I don't quite understand the question. It's just what you do when you're on the board. You work with the other people and get the job done.
Greg?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You listen to what the other board members have to say, and then you tell them they're wrong, and you tell them why. It's just pretty simple. That's how I work collaboratively.
Thank you. Kathy?
The board members are like a team, and throughout my entire career, I've been on teams, and I love being on teams. And I love working with people. And, you arm wrestle, and sometimes you're successful, and sometimes somebody else is successful. But I love working with a team of people and sharing ideas, and why do you think it should be done that way versus this way, or, how would this work, and how does that affect the entire community, and what's the domino effect of making this decision? So I'm full on a collaborator.
Thank you. All right, we're on the home stretch. 4 more questions. Dell, do you believe that the board should put more of the association's contracts out to competitive bid? If so, why? If not, why?
The short answer is yes, I think that we should. But in the past, the reality is when you have a contract that big with the greenery people that take care of all that, and you put it out to bid, and the people that are bidding spend a lot of time and energy coming up with these elaborate bids, and then we don't take them, we take something else. So pretty soon they say, no, we're not interested. And that is the reality of it. So we have to somehow merge that with the need to go out for competitive bids. And so we just threaten the current people. So.
Greg?
Yeah, threats were good. I think, yeah, we should get bids out as often as possible. I mean, we have a 3-year rotation. Each one goes 1 year, and then the next one. So there's not more than one contract coming up. I mean, that seems to work. But again, like Dell says, unfortunately, the field that we're in, it's actually a small group of people out there who do what we need them to do. So if you keep going after them year after year, hey, give me a contract, and they never hear back from you, they're going to say, well, it's not worth my time.
Thank you. Kathy?
I have a different approach. I've been involved in RFP and proposal processes, again, in my career. It's very time-consuming, and sometimes you still don't get what you want. So what I like to see is if you have a 3-year contract with a vendor and they're doing a good job, or even if maybe there's a few things that are not so good, that you sit down and you have some sort of annual review and you talk about all the different issues that you're concerned about, their time management, their staffing, their quality of product, and you evaluate that and see if there's some way that they can internally tweak that contract to give you better service so you don't have to constantly go out for an RFP.
Thank you. Pam?
My background is I ran a $100 million electronic manufacturing company. You walk a fine line with vendors. One important thing is your relationship with that vendor. However, the other side of that coin is value for every dollar spent. Sometimes the cheapest is not the best route to go. It winds up costing you a whole lot more. So you really need to evaluate each vendor. Of course, you always need to go out for bids because you need to check. You need to check to make sure that there isn't something better out there, because your real responsibility is to find the best vendor for the best value for every dollar spent.
Thank you. Next question goes to Greg. Do you believe that the current number of employees is enough? Too little? Too much? I'm assuming the question means management, the facilities.
Well, everything is seems to get done at this point. It's kind of nice, actually. We have a little night crew come in where their total focus is just cleaning certain items. So, it's kind of a different way to approach some of it but you're basically replacing 2 for 2. So the number seems to be good. You have to balance the number with cost, like everything. So as long as you're getting quality work and you're getting what needs to be done, then you're okay with the number.
Thank you. Kathy?
I like the number of staff, and I like the way it's departmentalized. And I also agree with Greg that I like the new contract night shift for cleaning. That has worked out really well. We've got a lot of positive feedback for that. I would like, again, if we do some sort of annual review, for staff to say what areas they need more help in and look at other areas like that. But right now, it seems like the current staff seems to be okay.
Thank you. Pam?
Well, let's dive a little deeper into this. First thing, I think what we all need to make an educated decision on this is to get a job description for each employee. We need to find out if there any redundancy, and if there is, we need to address it. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I see some areas of improvement. I find it hard to kind of justify, and this is no offense to anybody or wanting to get rid of anybody, but we have a landscape supervisor. Then we have an assistant landscape supervisor. Then we have a supervisor from the landscape company. And then, of course, we have our general manager. That looks a little top-heavy to me. So I think we need to really, do some evaluation here. And I also do not believe that a full staff should be housed in our facility. Associate has an office that is relatively close, right here in Temecula.
Thank you.
So we need to take a look at that, too.
Dell?
I currently think that our employees are about staffed correctly, with the one exception of the cleanup crew that we've been getting in, which are temporary people or something, and in fact, we are starting, as a board, starting to talk about the feasibility and getting some numbers to see if we can make that a permanent thing. That seems to work out better, separating the cleaning with the event setup and tear down and all the other stuff that they have to do.
Thank you. Next question goes to Kathy. The colony represents a wide generational spectrum within its demographic. If elected, how will you address the needs of the younger 55s moving into the community with the needs of our longtime residents?
Oh, that's well. So what you're saying is how to address the younger people who are coming in, who are more tech savvy and more active versus the people that have been here pretty much since the inception of the colony. You've got two spectrums. You've got two complete sides of the spectrum. So you literally have to create some sort of communication tool that addresses people as individuals and what their individual needs are. And that's very difficult, but I'd like to try.
Thank you. Pam?
Well, I think one thing would be to open up the committees a little bit more. Like I said, if you want to join a committee, you join a committee. You don't have to jump through hoops. I think there should be term limits on the boards of some of these committees that would encourage more people from a wider range to come in with fresher ideas. I would like to see maybe even a survey, because the residents need to be engaged more, because they're not. Let's face it. When was the last time somebody asked you what your opinion was and acted on it? So we need to take a look at maybe doing some community surveys on what would you like to see next. I think the residents should really have more of a hand in setting the priorities of the board, and I think that would blend the two different age groups.
Thank you. Dell?
With the younger people coming in, I think a lot of them are just so much more active than the older people. In the workout room and the facilities for the tennis, and make sure that's up to speed. And first chance we get to expand that area. And then every time we think about the amenities, may we think about it in a different way of thinking about, if you were younger, you would probably want, a better environment around the pool and maybe some fire pits and that kind of thing. And there's a lot to think about there.
Thank you. Greg?
Yeah, we are, somewhat limited. We don't have so much space and so many amenities that we can put out there. We already got the pool dug. We already have the tennis courts up, pickleball courts up. Bocce and shuffleboard. Probably a 55-year-old don't even know what a shuffleboard is. I don't know, but it's. We just need to have, quality amenities. And yeah, I would like actually a survey go out and say, hey, I think that'd be a great idea to put out there and see what the community would like, what they think we're missing that can fit here, into the community. I think that'd be a great idea.
Thank you. Kathy?
I think I already answered it.
You're right. I'm on the last question, aren't I?
Yeah.
That has to happen once every year. I make some kind of mix-up here. That was it at the very end.
You just like to grill me is what it is.
No, actually, I like to embarrass myself is my thing. Pam, last question.
Yeah, really?
It is, believe it or not.
Okay.
Why should the membership vote for you?
Because we need to shake things up a little bit. Because I don't have any personal agenda here. My agenda is, let's get this train on the right track again, and then I bow out. We have some real problems here, and I think I've got the experience and the knowledge to help guide us through some of these problems. But that's only going to work if everybody wants to do that. And if everybody has real information that they can make a value judgment with. So I don't have any, real personal agenda here. I just want to have a secure future here. And I think I can help get us there.
Thank you. Dell?
I have the experience and the motivation to continue on. I'm a happy guy. I'm a nice guy. Sometimes a little funny. So I think I'll do a good job. I think I have in the past, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Greg?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I think my background benefits the group here. Just knowing numbers, knowing real estate, knowing some law. I think it's just a good fit to be in this board, and I think the current board is fantastic. I think they work well together. I think they are like a well-oiled machine, and sometimes you want to shake things up, but as I said, if you read my little candidate statement, throwing a grenade in a room to shake things up is not shaking things up. That just causes destruction. What we need is some continuity, and we need quality people, which we have. And I think you have it in the Chuck, Greg, Dale, and Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
My personality is such that if an issue comes up, I do the research and I take the time to understand what the process is. And once the process is clear in my head, I'm really good at thinking of ways to streamline or expedite the processes. It's something that I enjoy doing and I've always done. I'm kind of unique on the board right now because my brain works different than everyone else's brain. I'm big on continuous improvement, but you have to understand how things work first, and then being able to communicate that information is something that I love to do and hope that I can be good at it.
Thank you.
That microphone doesn't like you, does it?
Ladies and gentlemen, well, that's our evening. Before you go, though, please understand that if you've never served on a board before or been through something like this, a candidate forum, it is not easy. It is a tough thing to be surprised with every question and have to think quick and from your heart. And I think that we got a lot of that this evening from our candidates. So please recognize them and give them a round of applause. And we thank you all for being here tonight to be informed. And those that joined us at home, we thank you and have a great and wonderful evening, rest of your evening. Thank you for being here.